Jake Morrison wiped the sweat from his forehead and looked at the cargo manifest one more time. Another long day at the docks was coming to an end. He had moved 73 containers from one bay to another, each one heavy enough to make his back ache. But the work kept him busy, and busy was good. Busy meant he didn't have time to think about the past. New Terra Station was loud as always. Thousands of beings moved through its corridors every day. Humans, aliens, traitors, soldiers, families, criminals. Everyone came to New Terra for something. Some came for business, others for a new start. Jake had come here to disappear. He clocked out and started walking back to his quarters. The main corridors were too crowded at this hour, so he took the side passages through the market sector. The lighting was dim here, and the air smelled like a mix of alien spices and engine oil. Small shops lined both sides of the narrow walkway, selling everything from food to weapons to things Jake couldn't even identify. Most of the vendors were closing up for the night. Jake kept his head down and walked quickly. He had learned in his 3 months on the station that the best way to stay out of trouble was to mind your own business. Don't look at anyone too long. Don't ask questions. Just keep moving. That's when he heard it. A small voice, high and scared, speaking in a language he didn't understand. Then came another sound, the low, hissing laughter of something that wasn't human. Jake stopped. Every instinct told him to keep walking. This wasn't his problem. Getting involved in other people's business on New Terra was a good way to end up dead. He had seen it happen before, but that voice, it was a child. He turned down a side alley and saw them. 3 large creatures stood in a semicircle. They were Kreb. Jake recognized them from the station briefings. Reptilian smugglers with scales like dark green armor, and eyes that glowed yellow in the dim light. Each one was easily 7 feet tall and built like they could break a human in half. Between them and the wall was a little girl. She couldn't have been more than 7 years old. Her skin was pale blue and seemed to glow softly with silver patterns that moved like water. She was Velhari, one of the alien species that lived on the station. The child clutched something small and metallic to her chest and pressed her back against the wall. One of the Kreb reached for her with a clawed hand. The girl screamed. Jake didn't think. His body moved before his mind caught up. He stepped into the alley and shouted, "Hey, leave her alone!" The 3 Kreb turned to look at him. For a moment, nobody moved. Then the largest one, the one who had been reaching for the girl, started laughing. It was a wet, rattling sound. "Human," the Kreb said in broken English. "Walk away. Not your concern." Jake stayed where he was. His heart pounded in his chest, but he kept his voice steady. The kid's scared. "Let her go." The second Kreb moved to the side, blocking Jake's view of the girl. "She has something that belongs to us. We take it back. Then we take her too. Good price for Velhari children." The words hit Jake like ice water. They weren't just robbing the kid. They were going to sell her. "That's not happening," Jake said. The largest Kreb took a step toward him. "You die here, human. No one cares. No one finds you for days." Jake knew he was right. This alley was far from the main corridors. Security didn't patrol here. If he died, it would be hours before anyone noticed. Days before anyone cared. He also knew he couldn't walk away. Not from this. Jake raised his fists. He hadn't been in a real fight since he left the Marines, but some things you don't forget. The Kreb laughed again and rushed forward. The first punch caught Jake in the ribs. Pain exploded through his chest and he stumbled back. The Kreb was stronger than he expected. A lot stronger. Jake ducked under the next swing and landed a punch to the creature's throat. The Kreb gagged and stepped back. The other 2 moved in. The fight became a blur. Jake blocked when he could, hit when he saw an opening, and tried to stay on his feet. But there were 3 of them and 1 of him. A clawed hand raked across his face and blood ran into his eye. Something hit his back hard enough to drive the air from his lungs. He fell to one knee. Through the pain and the blood, he could see the little girl still pressed against the wall. She was crying, but she was safe. That's what mattered. One of the Kreb grabbed Jake by the shirt and lifted him off the ground. The creature's breath smelled like rot. "Stupid human. Die for nothing." "Not nothing," Jake gasped. He kicked out hard, catching the Kreb between the legs. The creature howled and dropped him. Jake hit the ground and tried to stand, but his legs wouldn't hold him. His ribs screamed. His left arm hung uselessly at his side, probably broken. The 3 Kreb circled him, ready to finish the job. Then lights flooded the alley. A loud voice boomed, "Station security!" Nobody moved. The Kreb scattered. They were fast when they wanted to be, disappearing into the shadows before the security team could grab them. Jake tried to stand again and failed. The world tilted sideways. He felt small hands on his arm. The little girl had run to him. She was saying something in her language over and over. Jake didn't understand the words, but he understood the tone. She was thanking him. Security officers surrounded them. Jake heard someone calling for medical. The girl wouldn't let go of his arm even as the medics tried to help him. "It's okay," Jake whispered to her. His voice sounded far away. "You're safe now." The girl pressed something into his good hand. It was the device she had been holding, small and warm. She spoke again in her language, and this time one of the security officers translated. "She says you're a hero. She says she'll never forget." Jake wanted to tell her he wasn't a hero. Heroes didn't fail their teams. Heroes didn't run away from their problems. Heroes didn't end up working at cargo docks, trying to forget who they used to be. But before he could speak, the world went dark, and Jake Morrison knew nothing at all. When the medical team loaded him onto a stretcher, the Velhari girl walked beside them, still holding his hand. Security tried to take her away to find her parents, but she refused to leave. She stayed with the human who had saved her, the stranger who had nearly died to protect her from monsters. The station continued its endless noise above them. Thousands of beings went about their business, unaware of what had happened in a forgotten alley. But in that small, dark space, something important had occurred. A human had made a choice. Not the smart choice. Not the safe choice. But the right one, and that choice would change everything. Jake woke to the sound of machines beeping. His mouth tasted like metal and every part of his body hurt. He tried to sit up, but pain shot through his ribs and forced him back down. "Easy there," a voice said. A medical technician appeared beside his bed. She was human, middle-aged, with kind eyes. "You took quite a beating. 3 cracked ribs, broken arm, concussion, and more cuts than I could count. You're lucky to be alive." Jake blinked at the bright lights. "The girl, the Velhari child, is she okay?" The technician smiled. "She's fine. Thanks to you. Been asking about you every day." "Every day?" Jake's voice was rough. "How long have I been out?" 2 days. We kept you sedated while the bone knitters did their work. Your arm is healed now, and the ribs are mostly fixed. You'll be sore for a while, but you'll live." Jake closed his eyes. 2 days. He had lost 2 days of work. His supervisor was probably already looking for someone to replace him. Jobs like his didn't come with sick leave. "You have a visitor waiting," the technician said. "She's been here every day. Important person, too. Commander of some alien ship." "I don't know any commanders," Jake said. "She knows you. Says she needs to talk to you. You feel up to it?" Jake wanted to say no. He wanted to go back to sleep and wake up when all this was over. But something in the technician's voice told him this wasn't optional. "Sure, send her in." The technician left. Jake heard her speaking to someone outside, then footsteps approached his bed. The woman who entered was the tallest person Jake had ever seen. She had to be nearly 7 feet tall, with skin that shimmered silver blue in the medical bay's lights. Patterns moved across her skin like ripples on water. Her eyes were large and golden, and they looked at Jake with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. She wore a uniform that Jake didn't recognize. Dark blue with silver markings that probably meant something important in her culture. Everything about her said power and authority. "Jake Morrison," she said. Her English was perfect, with just a slight musical quality to it. "I am Commander Ishira Velanth of the Velhari Stellar Navy. I believe you have met my daughter." Jake's brain took a moment to process that. The little girl he saved was the daughter of a military commander. Of course she was. Nothing in his life was ever simple. "Is she okay?" Jake asked again. Ishara's expression softened slightly. "She is unharmed. Because of you. You placed yourself between her and those who would have taken her. You fought 3 Krebs smugglers alone with no weapon, knowing you would likely die. Why?" Jake didn't know how to answer that. She was a kid. She was scared. Someone had to help, but why you? Ishara stepped closer to his bed. "This station has thousands of people. Security patrols, merchants, soldiers. My daughter wandered from our quarters while I was in a meeting. She was lost for nearly an hour. Hundreds of beings must have seen her, but only you stopped. Only you helped. Why?" "I don't know," Jake said honestly. "I just did." Ishara was quiet for a long moment. Then she did something Jake didn't expect. She placed her hand over her heart and bowed her head. "In my culture we have a word. Kathera. It means a debt that cannot be measured or repaid. By saving Lyra, you have earned my Cathara, my loyalty, my trust, my life if needed. This is not a small thing, Jake Morrison. Jake felt uncomfortable. Look, I appreciate that, but it's really not necessary. I just did what anyone should do. But they didn't, Ishara said, raising her head. That is what you don't understand. The galaxy is not kind. Most beings care only for themselves and their own species. Some humans would have helped a human child but walked past mine. Some aliens would do the same. But you saw a child in danger and acted without hesitation. That is rare. That is valuable. I'm not valuable, Jake said. I'm a cargo handler who got into a fight. That's all? No, Ishara said firmly. You are a man with a warrior's training who chose a quiet life. I researched you, Jake Morrison. Former Marine. 3 years of service. Decorated twice for bravery. Then you left suddenly and came here to work in the docks. Why, Jake looked away. That's personal. You carry guilt, Ishara said. It wasn't a question. Something happened. Something that made you believe you were not worthy of being a soldier anymore. But what you did for Lyra proves otherwise. You are exactly the kind of person the galaxy needs. You don't know me, Jake said. I know you risked your life for my child. I know you could have walked away but didn't. I know that when the Kreb offered to let you live if you left, you refused. That tells me everything I need to know. Jake was quiet. He didn't remember the Kreb offering anything. The fight was mostly a blur. How do you know what they said? Lyra told me. She understands English better than she speaks it. She heard everything. Ishara pulled a chair over and sat down. She wants to meet you again. To thank you properly. Will you allow this? She doesn't need to thank me, Jake said. She needs to see that you are well. She has been having nightmares. She keeps asking if the kind human is alive, if he's okay, please. For her peace of mind. Jake couldn't say no to that. Okay, yeah, I'll meet her. Ishara smiled. It transformed her face completely. Thank you. But first, there is something else I must discuss with you. Your job at the cargo docks. You will not be returning to it. Jake's stomach dropped. They fired me? No. I paid your employer a compensation fee for the sudden loss of his worker. You work for me now if you choose to accept. What? I don't understand, Ishara leaned forward. The Velhari Stellar Navy is forming a new task force with human cooperation. We are fighting smugglers, pirates, and criminals who operate in the border regions where our laws are weak. We need people who understand both human and alien cultures. People who can make hard choices. People we can trust. I'm not a soldier anymore, Jake said. You took a beating that would have killed most humans to protect a child you had never met. You are more of a soldier than most who wear the uniform. Ishara stood. I'm not asking for an answer now. You need to heal. But think about it. The galaxy has many children like Lyra. Many innocent people who need someone willing to stand between them and the darkness. She walked to the door, then paused. I have reserved a private dining room in the residential sector for tomorrow evening. Lyra wants to have dinner with you to thank you properly. Will you come? Jake thought about saying no. He thought about leaving the station as soon as he could walk, going somewhere even more remote. But he also thought about a little girl having nightmares, wondering if the human who saved her was alive. I'll be there, he said. Ishara nodded. Good. I will send someone with the details. Rest now, Jake Morrison. You have earned it. She left, and Jake was alone with his thoughts. His whole life had been simple. Work, eat, sleep, repeat. Don't think about the past. Don't plan for the future. Just exist. Now a 7-foot-tall alien commander was offering him a job, talking about loyalty and trust and protecting people, everything he had tried to leave behind. The door opened again and the medical technician came back. How'd it go with the commander? I'm not sure, Jake said honestly. She's important, you know. Really important. Word is she's one of the top officers in their whole fleet, and she came here personally just to talk to you. The technician checked his monitors. You must have really impressed her. I just helped her kid, Jake said. Sometimes that's all it takes, the technician said. Being in the right place at the right time, making the right choice. Changes everything. Jake lay back and stared at the ceiling. His body hurt. His future was uncertain, and somewhere on this station was a little alien girl who thought he was a hero. He wasn't a hero. He was just a guy who couldn't walk past a kid in trouble. But maybe, just maybe, that was enough. 3 weeks had passed since the fight in the alley. Jake was back on his feet, though his ribs still ached when he moved too quickly. The station's medical technology was impressive, but it couldn't erase pain completely. He had expected to return to the cargo docks, but his supervisor told him his position had been filled. Someone had paid a lot of money to buy out his contract. Jake knew exactly who that someone was, so he found himself with nothing to do and a small apartment he could barely afford. The compensation money Ishara had mentioned hadn't appeared yet, and Jake was starting to wonder if he had misunderstood the whole conversation. Then the dinner invitation had come. An actual printed card, delivered by a Velhari officer in full uniform, the kind of formality that made Jake nervous. Now he stood outside a private dining room in the residential sector, wearing the cleanest clothes he owned, wondering what he had gotten himself into. The door opened before he could knock. Ishara stood there, but she wasn't in her uniform. She wore something simpler, flowing fabric in shades of blue and silver that matched her skin. She looked less like a military commander and more like someone's mother. "Jake Morrison," she said warmly. "Please come in." The dining room was beautiful. The walls seemed to glow with soft light, and crystals hung from the ceiling, making quiet musical sounds when they touched. A table was set with food, both human and Velhari dishes from what Jake could tell. But what caught his attention was the little girl sitting at the table. Lyra looked up when he entered, and her whole face lit up. She jumped from her chair and ran to him, stopping just short of actually touching him. She spoke quickly in her own language. Ishara translated. "She says she's so happy you're okay. She was very worried. She wants to know if you're still in pain." "I'm fine," Jake said, looking down at Lyra. "How are you? No more nightmares?" Ishara translated, and Lyra shook her head vigorously. She spoke again, and her mother smiled. "She says the nightmares stopped when she heard you were awake. She knew the kind human would be all right." Lyra grabbed Jake's hand and pulled him to the table. She had drawn pictures, Jake realized. Dozens of them spread across one end of the table. Pictures of him fighting the Kreb. Pictures of him standing tall with light around him like some kind of guardian. A child's understanding of a hero. "She made these for you," Ishara said. "She's been drawing every day. She wants you to have them." Jake picked up one of the drawings. His throat felt tight. "These are really good, Lyra, thank you." The girl beamed at him, understanding his tone even if not all the words. They sat down to eat. The food was good, better than anything Jake had eaten in months. Lyra talked constantly, even though Jake couldn't understand most of it. Ishara translated when necessary, but mostly she just let her daughter chatter happily. "She's telling you about her school," Ishara said at one point, "and about her friends. She told them all about the brave human who saved her. You're quite famous among 7-year-old Velhari children now." Jake felt his face heat up. "I'm really not that special." "You keep saying that," Ishara said. "Why do you believe it?" Jake put down his fork. "Because it's true. I did one decent thing. That doesn't make me a hero." "What would make you a hero in your mind?" "Heroes don't fail," Jake said quietly. "They don't get their friends killed." The room went silent. Even Lyra stopped talking, sensing the change in mood. Ishara studied him carefully. "Tell me what happened." "It doesn't matter." "It does. Because it's stopping you from seeing who you really are." Jake was quiet for a long moment. Then slowly he started talking. About his last mission as a Marine. About the ambush that killed 3 of his team. About how he had made the call to advance, ignoring the signs that something was wrong. About how he survived when better people didn't. "So you see," he finished, "I'm not someone you want making decisions. I already proved I can't be trusted with that." Ishara listened to it all. When he finished, she said, "How old were you?" 23. "And you were the team leader?" "Yes, and for how long?" 2 months. "It was my first command position." Ishara nodded. "I became a squad leader at 24. My first major decision got 6 of my people injured. One of them still cannot walk without assistance. I carry that with me every day. But I learned from it. I became better. More careful. More thoughtful. That failure made me the commander I am today." "It's not the same," Jake said. "It is exactly the same. You were young, inexperienced, and you made a mistake. But you survived. You learned, and when faced with danger again in that alley, you made all the right choices. You assessed the threat. You intervened at the right moment. You protected the innocent and held off multiple attackers long enough for help to arrive. Those are not the actions of a failure, Jake Morrison. Those are the actions of someone who learned from his mistakes. Jake wanted to argue, but Lyra spoke up. She said something short and firm. Ishara smiled. She says you're a hero because heroes help people. That's all that matters. The simple logic of a child. Jake looked at Lyra, at her complete certainty, and something inside him shifted slightly. I want you to work for me, Ishara said, changing the subject. The task force I mentioned. We need someone like you, not despite your past, but because of it. Someone who knows the cost of mistakes and won't make them lightly. I don't know, Jake said. Let me tell you what the job involves. We hunt smugglers and pirates in the border regions, places where station security won't go. We go undercover, gather intelligence, and when necessary, we strike. It's dangerous work. Sometimes we operate outside normal legal boundaries. We need people who can think on their feet and make hard choices. That's not me anymore, isn't it? You made a hard choice in that alley. You chose to fight impossible odds to protect someone you didn't know. That's exactly the kind of person we need. Lyra tugged on Jake's sleeve. She pushed one of her drawings toward him. It showed him standing between her and the Kreb, arms spread wide. Below it, she had written something in Velhari script. Ishara translated. It says, "My guardian." Jake looked at the drawing, at this child who saw him as something good, something worth believing in. He thought about the smugglers still out there, the ones who wanted to take children like Lyra and sell them. He thought about all the people who needed someone willing to stand between them and the darkness. If I say yes, he said slowly, what exactly would I be doing? Ishara smiled. First, training. You need to understand Velhari culture, learn some of our language, and get familiar with the other species you'll be working with. Then field missions. You would be part of a mixed team, humans and Velhari working together. Would I have to command anyone? Not at first. You would be a specialist operator, someone who executes missions but doesn't plan them. Later, if you prove yourself and want more responsibility, we can discuss it. Jake thought about it. A chance to do something meaningful again. A chance to maybe balance out some of the bad he'd caused. But also a chance to fail again, to let more people down. He looked at Lyra, who watched him with complete trust in her eyes. She believed in him. Ishara believed in him. Maybe it was time he tried believing in himself just a little bit. Okay, he said. I'll do it. But I need you to understand something. I'm not the hero you think I am. I'm just a guy trying to do better than he did before. Ishara reached across the table and placed her hand on his. That is all any of us can do. Try to be better than we were yesterday. Welcome to the task force, Jake Morrison. I believe you will surprise yourself with what you can accomplish. Lyra cheered, understanding that something good had just happened. She jumped up and hugged Jake tightly. He hugged her back, careful of her small frame, and felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Maybe he wasn't a hero. Maybe he never would be. But if he could make a difference, if he could help protect people like Lyra, then maybe that was enough. Maybe he could learn to forgive himself for his past mistakes by making sure he didn't repeat them. As they finished dinner, Ishara outlined the next steps. Training would start in 2 days. He would be assigned quarters near the Velhari section of the station. He would meet his new team members soon. Jake listened to it all, still not quite believing this was happening. A few weeks ago, he had been a nobody, hiding from his past. Now he was joining an elite task force working with aliens, preparing to hunt criminals across the border regions. It was terrifying. It was exciting. It was exactly what he needed, even if he hadn't known it. The training was harder than Jake expected. Not physically, though that part was tough enough. The real challenge was learning to work with beings who didn't think like humans, who had different instincts and different ways of solving problems. His team consisted of 6 members. 3 humans, 3 Velhari. The humans were easy enough. Danny Cooper was ex-military like Jake, a former pilot with a quick smile and steady hands. Lisa Grant was younger, a tech specialist who could hack almost any system. The 3rd human was Greg Palmer, a big man who served as their heavy weapons expert. The Velhari were more complicated. There was Nerith, a slim female who moved like water and spoke only when necessary. Pharaon, a communications expert who seemed to tolerate humans but not particularly like them. And then there was Corinth. Corinth was a problem. He was a warrior in the traditional sense, tall even for a Velhari, with darker blue skin and patterns that looked like battle scars. He had served in the Velhari military for 15 years and made no secret of his opinion about humans on the team. You are here because the commander has personal feelings, Corinth said to Jake on the third day of training. Not because you earned this position. They were in the training facility practicing hand-to-hand combat. Jake had just finished a round with Danny and was catching his breath. Corinth stood nearby, arms crossed. I'm here because she asked me to be, Jake said carefully. Same as you? I earned my place through years of service. You saved one child and received special treatment. That is not the same. Jake didn't have a good answer for that. Part of him agreed. He was here because of Ishara's gratitude, not because of any special skill. The other team members had years of experience. He was still figuring out which alien species was which. Maybe you're right, Jake said. But I'm here now. I'm going to do my best. Your best may get us killed, Corinth said and walked away. Danny came over and handed Jake a water bottle. Don't let him get to you. Corinth's always like that with new people, especially humans. Does he have a reason to hate us? His brother was killed by human pirates about 5 years ago. He doesn't talk about it, but everyone knows. He doesn't trust humans much. Jake drank the water and watched Corinth train on the other side of the room. The Velhari warrior moved with incredible speed and precision. Every strike was perfect. Every movement had purpose. He's not wrong, though, Jake said. I don't have the experience you all have. I might mess up. Then don't, Danny said simply. Look, we all mess up sometimes. The question is what you do after. Do you learn or do you quit? Jake thought about his last team, about the mistakes he made. He hadn't quit then. He had finished the mission, brought his surviving team members home, and then left the service. Maybe that had been its own kind of quitting. I'll learn, Jake said. The first real mission came 2 weeks later. Intelligence had located a smuggling operation running out of a station called the Freehold. It was a lawless place, the kind of station where criminals felt safe. The smugglers were moving weapons to insurgent groups in the outer colonies. The team's job was to infiltrate, identify the leadership, and gather evidence. If possible, they would sabotage the shipment. If not, they would report back and let the authorities handle it. Ishara briefed them personally. This is a reconnaissance mission first. We need information, not bodies. Stay quiet, stay smart, and if things go wrong, get out. Understand? Everyone nodded. Jake felt his heart pounding. This was real. Not training, not simulation. Real criminals, real danger. They took a civilian transport to the Freehold. Danny piloted while the rest of them went over the plan. Jake was paired with Corinth. They would pose as independent traders looking to buy weapons. Lisa and Greg were backup, monitoring from a safe distance. Nareth and Veron would handle communications and extraction if needed. Stay close and say little, Corinth told Jake as they prepared to dock. Let me do the talking. Your accent will give us away as outsiders. Got it. The Freehold was everything Jake expected. Dark corridors, suspicious looks, and the smell of things he didn't want to identify. Armed guards stood at every intersection. Most were alien species Jake didn't recognize. A few were human, which somehow made it worse. Corinth led them to a bar in the lower levels. It was crowded and loud, perfect for not being noticed. They found a table in the back and waited. A Kreb approached them after 20 minutes. Jake recognized the species immediately. Same reptilian features as the ones who had attacked Lyra. He felt his jaw tighten but kept his face neutral. Here you looking to buy, the Kreb said. His English was better than the smugglers from the station. What you need? Corinth negotiated in careful terms. Small arms, nothing too sophisticated, enough to seem legitimate, but not enough to actually fund anything dangerous. The Kreb named a price and they agreed to meet later to see the merchandise. It was going smoothly. Too smoothly. They followed the Kreb to a warehouse on the station's edge. Greg's voice came through Jake's hidden earpiece. I don't like this. Too isolated. Could be a trap. We're committed, Corinth replied quietly. Stay alert. The warehouse was full of crates. Weapons, ammunition, and things Jake couldn't identify. The Kreb showed them around, pointing out different items. Jake memorized everything he could. Locations, quantities, markings on the crates. Then everything went wrong. Alarms blared. Red lights flashed. The Kreb turned on them with weapons drawn. You're not traitors. You're spies. Jake didn't know what had given them away. Maybe their cover story had holes. Maybe someone recognized Corinth. It didn't matter. What mattered was the dozen armed smugglers now blocking the exits. Corinth moved first. He took down 2 smugglers before they could fire. Jake dove for cover behind a crate and pulled his sidearm. He heard Danny in his ear. "We're coming." Hold on, but they were too far away. The warehouse was a kill box, and Jake and Corinth were trapped inside. A plasma bolt hit the crate next to Jake's head. The heat was intense. He returned fire, dropping one smuggler. Corinth was fighting 3 at once, his movements too fast to follow. Then Jake saw it. A shot aimed at Corinth's back while he was engaged with another enemy. The Velhari warrior didn't see it coming. Jake didn't think. He ran forward and tackled Corinth to the ground. The plasma bolt passed over them close enough that Jake felt his hair singe. "What are you doing?" Corinth shouted. "Saving your life," Jake shouted back. "You're welcome." They scrambled to new cover. Corinth's leg was bleeding. The earlier fight had cost him. He tried to stand and fell. "I can walk," he insisted. "No, you can't," Jake said. He looked around. The smugglers were regrouping. The exit was 20 meters away. Corinth couldn't run, and Jake couldn't carry a fully grown Velhari and fight at the same time. "Leave me," Corinth said. "Get yourself out." Not happening. Jake pulled out a flashbang grenade from his pack. He had 2. He threw one toward the main group of smugglers and grabbed Corinth's arm. "When I say go, you move." "I don't care if it hurts." The grenade went off. Bright light and noise filled the warehouse. Jake hauled Corinth to his feet and half carried, half dragged him toward the exit. The Velhari was heavy, much heavier than he looked. They made it 10 meters before the smugglers recovered. Shots rang out. Jake felt something hot slice across his shoulder, but kept moving. He threw the second grenade behind them and pushed through the door. Danny was there with a transport. Greg laid down covering fire. They pulled Corinth inside and Jake collapsed next to him. The transport doors closed and they were moving. "Medical bay," Danny said into his comm. "Now we have wounded." Jake looked at Corinth. The Velhari warrior was staring at him with an expression Jake couldn't read.
"You should have left me." "Yeah, well, I'm stupid that way," Jake said.
His shoulder hurt. His legs hurt. Everything hurt. "But they were alive. You carried me," Corinth said slowly. "A human carried a Velhari warrior to safety." "You would have done the same for me," Jake said. Corinth was quiet for a moment. Then he did something unexpected. He placed his hand over his heart in the traditional Velhari salute. He spoke in his own language, the words formal and serious. Greg translated from the front. "He says you have proven yourself worthy. He was wrong about you. He will speak of your bravery to his people." Jake felt embarrassed. "I just did what needed doing." "That is what makes you worthy," Corinth said in English. "Many would not have. I judged you by your lack of experience. I should have judged you by your character." They made it back to their ship without further incident. The mission was technically a failure. They had been discovered and didn't get all the information they needed. But they had survived, and they had learned the location of the smugglers' base. Ishara met them in the medical bay. She looked at Jake's bandaged shoulder and Corinth's wrapped leg. "I heard what happened. Both of you could have died. But we didn't," Jake said. She turned to Corinth. "And?" The warrior nodded slowly. "He is worthy. I was wrong to doubt him," Ishara smiled. "Good. Now both of you rest. We'll debrief in the morning." As she left, Jake lay back on the medical bed. His first real mission, and he had nearly gotten killed. But he had also saved a teammate. Proven himself to someone who doubted him. Maybe he was learning. Maybe he could do this after all. 6 months had changed everything. Jake Morrison was no longer the lost cargo handler hiding from his past. He was part of something bigger now, something that mattered. The task force had completed 9 successful missions. They had shut down 3 smuggling operations, rescued 2 groups of kidnapped civilians, and captured more criminals than Jake could count. He had learned to work with his alien teammates, to understand their ways of thinking, to trust them with his life, and they trusted him back. Even Corinth, who had become something close to a friend. The Velhari warrior still didn't smile much, but he no longer questioned Jake's presence on the team. Jake visited Lyra when he could. The little girl was growing, learning, thriving. She still drew pictures for him, still called him her guardian. Those visits reminded him why he was doing this work, why it mattered. Then came the intelligence report that changed everything. Danny found Jake in the training room. "We've got a problem, big one. Ishara wants everyone in the briefing room now." The team gathered quickly. Ishara stood at the front, her expression grave. Behind her, a holographic display showed shipping routes and station schematics. 3 days ago, station security intercepted a coded message. Ishara began. Our analysts broke it this morning. The Krebs smuggling cartel we've been tracking is planning a major attack on New Terra Station. They want revenge for our interference in their operations. Jake felt cold. New Terra was home to thousands of people. To Lyra, when? Greg asked. 5 days from now. They're planning to hit multiple targets simultaneously. Power stations, life support, security centers. They want to cause maximum chaos and casualties. Why New Terra? Lisa asked. There are bigger stations. Because we're based here, Corinth said quietly. They're coming for us. The station is just in the way. Ishara nodded. Intelligence suggests they're specifically targeting anyone involved in disrupting their operations. That includes this team, and it includes anyone associated with us. Jake understood immediately. They're coming after Lyra. Among others, yes. They know she's my daughter. They know she's here. They want to hurt me by hurting her. Ishara's voice was controlled, but Jake could hear the anger underneath. I'm sending her away. There's a transport leaving tomorrow for a secured Velhari colony. She'll be safe there. What about everyone else on the station? Danny asked. Station security is being informed, but the Kreb are planning something sophisticated. Multiple strike teams, coordinated attacks. We need to stop them before they get to the station. Do we know where they're staging from? Jake asked. The message was traced to a ship in the Corval system, an old freighter called the Razor Wind. It's hiding in an asteroid field. We believe it's their command center. Then we take it out, Greg said. Hit them before they can hit us. Ishara brought up a new image. The Razor Wind was massive, a cargo hauler that had been heavily modified. Weapons, armor, and who knew what else. It's heavily defended. This won't be like our other missions. This is a full military operation. I'm going, Jake said immediately. Jake, Ishara started, but he cut her off. They're doing this because of us, because we stopped them from hurting people. And they're going after Lyra because I saved her. I'm going. Corinth stood. As am I. This is a matter of honor. One by one, the rest of the team volunteered. Ishara looked at them all, and Jake saw pride in her eyes. Very well. We leave in 6 hours. This will be dangerous. Possibly the most dangerous thing any of us have done. I won't lie to you. Some of us might not come back. Then we make sure the ones who don't go down fighting, Danny said. The preparation was intense. They gathered weapons, armor, and explosives. 2 other teams would join them, 1 human unit and 1 Velhari squad. In total, 24 people would be assaulting the Razor Wind. Jake checked his gear 3 times. He had learned to be thorough, to not leave anything to chance. As he worked, Lyra appeared in the doorway of the equipment room. You're going to fight the bad people again, she said in careful English. She had been learning, getting better every day. Yeah, Jake said, kneeling down to her level. But you'll be safe. Your mom is sending you somewhere the bad people can't reach. I don't want to go. I want to stay with you and Mom. I know. But sometimes the best way to help is to stay safe. Let us worry about the bad people. Lyra hugged him tightly. Promise you'll come back. Jake wanted to promise. Wanted to tell her everything would be fine. But he had learned not to make promises he might not be able to keep. I'll do my best. That's all I can promise. She pulled back and looked at him seriously. You're my guardian. Guardians always come back. I'll try, Jake said softly. Ishara appeared and gently led Lyra away. Before they left, she looked back at Jake. Keep her safe, she said, meaning more than just Lyra. Keep all of them safe. I will. The journey to the Corval system took 8 hours. They traveled in a military assault ship, faster and better armed than their usual transport. Everyone was quiet, preparing mentally for what was coming. Jake sat next to Corinth. The Velhari warrior was sharpening a blade, an old tradition before battle. Are you afraid? Corinth asked. Terrified, Jake admitted. Good. Fear keeps you sharp, makes you careful. Corinth tested the blade's edge. I wanted to thank you again for carrying me from that warehouse. I would have died there. You would have done the same. Yes, but I would not have 6 months ago. I would have let you fall thinking humans were not worth saving. You taught me I was wrong. I didn't teach you anything. You learned it yourself by watching you, by seeing how you treat everyone the same. Human, Velhari, it doesn't matter to you. If someone needs help, you help. That is rare. Corinth put away his blade. If I fall in this battle, tell my family I died fighting beside a true warrior. A human warrior, but a warrior nonetheless. You're not going to fall, Jake said. Perhaps not. But if I do, promise me. I promise. They reached the Corval system and approached the asteroid field carefully. The Razor Wind was exactly where intelligence said it would be. A massive ship, dark and menacing, hiding among the rocks. All teams, this is Commander Velanth, Ishara's voice came through the comm system. Remember the plan. Alpha team breaches the main deck. Bravo team takes engineering. Charlie team, that's us, we go for the bridge. Shut down their command center and the whole operation falls apart. They launched from the assault ship in small boarding craft. Plasma fire lit up the space around them as the Razor Wind's defenses activated. 2 craft were hit, spinning away. Jake gripped his harness and tried not to think about the people inside. Their craft made it through. They clamped onto the Razor Wind's hull and cut through. The moment the breach was open, they poured inside. The fighting was immediate and brutal. Krebs smugglers defended every corridor. Jake moved with his team, covering angles, taking shots when he had them. Greg's heavy weapon cleared entire rooms. Lisa hacked door controls, opening passages for them. They fought their way up deck by deck. Jake took a grazing hit to his arm but kept moving. Pain was something to deal with later. Right now they had a job to do. The bridge was heavily defended. A dozen Kreb guards with heavy weapons. The corridor leading to it was a death trap. We need a diversion, Ishara said. I'll do it, Jake said. Jake, no, Danny started. I'm the fastest. I can draw their fire, give you all a chance to flank them. Corinth grabbed his shoulder. Not alone. I go with you. They didn't have time to argue. Jake and Corinth moved to a side corridor. On 3, Jake said. 1, 2, 3, they burst out firing as they ran. The Kreb guards turned toward them immediately. Plasma bolts filled the air. Jake felt one pass so close to his head he could smell burning hair. They dove behind cover as the rest of the team moved up the main corridor. The Kreb were caught between 2 fires. The battle was short and decisive. The bridge door was sealed. Lisa worked on the controls while the rest of them covered her. It took 3 minutes that felt like hours. Finally, the door opened. Inside, a Kreb commander stood at the main console. He was bigger than the others with scars across his face. He looked at them and laughed. Too late, humans. The message is already sent. My people are already moving. Cancel it, Ishara demanded. No, you cost us too much. Too many lost shipments. Too much profit gone. Your station burns. Your people die. And there's nothing you can do. Jake stepped forward. There's one thing we can do. He shot the main console. Sparks flew and the screens went dark. The Kreb commander roared and charged at him. Jake ducked under the attack and Corinth hit the Kreb from behind. They wrestled the commander to the ground. The station, Jake said urgently to Lisa. Can you send a warning? She was already at another console. Fingers flying over the controls. Doing it now. Sending everything we found. Security will have 20 minutes warning. Maybe more. Will that be enough? Danny asked. It has to be, Ishara said. They secured the bridge and the rest of the ship. Other teams reported success in their areas. The Razor Wind was theirs. But the battle wasn't over. The attack on New Terra was still happening. The journey back felt longer than the journey out. Jake sat with his team, all of them wounded to some degree, all of them exhausted. They had done everything they could. Now they just had to hope it was enough. They reached New Terra Station to find it still standing.